The 10 most wanted American criminals. Number 10, Glenn Stewart Godwin is Michael Carrera, wanted since 1987. Reward $100,000. Glenn's story begins in 1980 when he brutally murdered a drug dealer he was trying to rob. After a short investigation and trial, he was sentenced to 26 years in prison. While in Folsom State Prison, he managed to escape by cutting the outer fence and jumping into a storm drain that emptied into the American River. He wasn't heard of or seen until 1991 when he was arrested in Puerto Vallarta on drug trafficking charges. He managed to escape prison once more. The FBI believes Glenn is involved in the illicit drug trade somewhere in Latin America. He is considered to be armed and extremely dangerous. Number 9, Robert William Fisher, alias Robert W., wanted since 2001. Reward $100,000. This seemingly nice fellow was involved in the 2001 murder of his 2 children and wife. Not only did he kill his whole family, he blew up the house they lived in, too. Robert has extensive experience in outdoor survival and is very physically fit. He has ties to New Mexico and Florida. Number 8, Jason Derek Brown, alias Greg Johnson, wanted since 2004. Reward $200,000. Jason hails from a nice Mormon family, and he performed his mission in Paris and speaks fluent French. He has been described as a big show-off and always wants to be the center of attention. In 2004, Mr. Brown decided to shoot and kill an armored car guard outside a movie theater in Phoenix, Arizona. He took all the money he could and fled the scene. He has been known to travel frequently to France and Mexico and is considered to be armed and dangerous. The FBI would really love to have a chat with him about that fateful day in November 2004. Number 7, Josephine Sunshine Overacre, aliases Osha, Joe, China, or Josie, wanted since 2006. Reward $50,000. Josephine was indicted by a federal grand jury in Eugene, Oregon in 2006. The jury indicted Josephine on multiple charges related to her role in a domestic terrorism cell. The crimes she committed are tied to the extremist groups the Earth Liberation Front and the Animal Liberation Front. The FBI believes that Josephine is possibly working as a masseuse, a sheep tender, or a firefighter. Number 6, Eduardo Ravelo, alias Catalyst or 2x4, wanted since 2008. Reward $100,000. Eduardo is believed to be a captain within the Barrio Azteca cartel and has strong ties with crimes committed on both sides of the border. Since 2008, Eduardo has been indicted in Texas for his involvement in racketeering activities, conspiracy to distribute. His criminal activities became the focus in many investigations dating back to 2003. He is also considered extremely dangerous. The FBI believes he is hiding somewhere in Juarez, Mexico. Number 5, Leo Frederick Burt, alias Eugene Donald Fieldston, wanted since 1970. Reward $150,000. For the past 46 years, Leo has been wanted for his alleged involvement in the 1970 bombing of Sterling Hall on the campus of the University of Wisconsin. The explosion caused around $6 million in damages, multiple injuries, and 1 fatality. Leo's charges include sabotage, destruction of government property, and conspiracy. Number 4, Victor Manuel Garena, alias Victor Ortiz, wanted since 1983. Reward $1 million. Victor has been hiding from the U.S. government for half a century due to his involvement in a 1983 theft of about $7 million. The robbery took place in Connecticut at a Wells Fargo armored car facility where Garena worked. He stole a co-worker's gun, handcuffed him and another co-worker, and injected them with an unknown substance until they were completely disabled. He made off to Mexico with the money and may have then traveled to Cuba. Not much is known about this guy or his exact whereabouts. Number 3, Dumitru Daniel Bosajoyu, alias Iogi, wanted since 2012. Reward $750,000. $250,000. This guy is one serious criminal. He is the mastermind behind a sophisticated internet fraud scheme that involved hundreds of people and spanned continents. Without going into too much detail, the scam went something were purchased on internet auction sites containing images of cars, boats, and antiques for sale. During email negotiations with unsuspecting buyers across the US and Europe, the scammers sent fake invoices with instructions for payment to bank accounts held by other scammers. The amount of money Dumitru has swindled from innocent online shoppers cannot be fully determined. Number 2, Stephen Eugene Clifford, alias Gino or Doc, wanted since 2002. Reward $10,000. In 2002, Stephen was arrested on a 17-count felony complaint, mostly for sexual assault, including sexual assault on a minor. 11 victims came from 1998 to 2002. Stephen fled the country while he was out on bail and ended up along the Baja California Peninsula in Mexico. He is now believed to be hiding in plain sight somewhere in Europe. Number 1, Evgeny Mikhailovich Bogachev, alias Lucky12345 and Slavic, wanted since 2012. Reward $3 million. Bogachev is believed to be the creator of the Zeus virus. This malicious software was used to steal bank account numbers, passwords, PINs, and other sensitive information. The upgraded version of the virus, called Game Over Zeus, has infected millions of computers and has resulted in financial losses of more than $100 million. Mr. Lucky12345 is hiding somewhere in Russia at the moment, and the FBI can't wait for him to visit a country where he can disappear from.
Babe, I got some change offers for a little project. What should I get?
Surprise me. What you got? Blue.
Chase offers, with deals on what you love. Find you.
Unnecessary trauma can alter every moment you envisioned. It's just one mistake that can change everything. Elkinough knows this, and it's why we're there for every client, every day.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this video, we're going to do something just a little bit different. We're going to look at who's on the FBI's most wanted list, and what all the lads did to get themselves on this esteemed platform. This list, it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's in no particular order, it's not ranked. So we're going to look at each of these naughty bad boys, where they could possibly be today, and what exactly they did to get themselves on the list. Not that I'm looking for any advice, wink wink. These guys are still at large out there somewhere in the world, more than likely in America, as it's all set in America. I mean, they could be right behind you as you're watching this video. They could be watching this video. Okay, so first up, who we got? Well, how about Jason Derek Brown? Jason grew up in LA, born in 1969. Nice. A Mormon, he did time missionarying, that's a word, right? In France, where I don't think he had too much luck, to be honest. Writing at the time being 1989, to his grandparents. There are days that are really, really tough when no one wants to listen to us, and you just wonder, what's this all about? Then there are days you have a baptism, and you're on top of the world, wishing you never had to come down. Sounds just fantastic. Jason's dad, David, is an alleged thief with huge gambling debts who was actually booted out of the church for stealing. He disappeared in 1995, which many have speculated that that's what led Jason to do what he would do and get on a list you really don't want to be on. After Jason got all that missionarying out of the way, he moved to Laguna Beach, California, and got married. However, it seems that his father's disappearance didn't sit too well with him. Shortly after, he divorced and started living the high life. Left the church, cars, women, drugs, gambling, all that good stuff. Moving from California to Utah to Arizona to Texas. But by 2004, he was essentially a broke grifter, just like his daddy, which in turn led him to do something quite drastic and shitty.
911, what is your emergency? There was about 5 shots fired. It was quite a few shots that rang out. It sounded like one gun. 911, what is your emergency? My dad was just calling to our guard is down. He's been shot, and he's been shot several times. We need to get somebody there.
On November 29th, 2004, Robert Palomares, a 24-year-old armored car guard, was taking the money from an AMC theater in Phoenix, Arizona at 10 a.m. He was approached by a masked man who shot him 5 times in the head. He was carrying about $56,000, which Jason took. He ran off into an alley and then was off on a mountain bike. Robert Palomares was pronounced dead an hour later. A few hours later, the police found that mountain bike, fingerprinted the shit out of it, and bingo bango, you got your Jason Brown. After the murder, it's believed Jason drove to Las Vegas, then to California where he stayed with his brother. The FBI learned of this, and were actually only an hour away from catching him at his brother's home when someone, wink wink, tipped him off and he escaped. Jason's brother would, for harboring a fugitive, would later be charged with obstruction of justice. 6 weeks later, Jason's car was found abandoned at Portland International Airport. And that's kind of it. There have been a few sightings of Jason over the years. In fact, the actor Sean Penn's body double has been arrested twice after people thought it was Jason. In 2008, he was apparently sighted in Salt Lake City, near the zoo, by someone who recognized him from his missionary days. Apparently, upon Jason knowing he had been recognized, he just sped off. Other alleged sightings have been in France, Indonesia, a few other places in Utah and California. In 2012, the FBI said he may be hiding out within the Mormon community somewhere in Utah. One of the reasons the FBI and just, law enforcement in general has been having such a hard time in finding Jason is because he has such a everyman look. He just looks kind of bleh. He's just a goth. Now, apparently he just blends into crowds really, really well. Jason, what does he look like? He looks like a guy. He's just a dude. There is currently a $200,000 reward for any information leading to his arrest. So, any Mormons out there, you know something, okie dokie. Who's next? Well, how about Eugene Palmer, the eldest fella on this list? He's from New York, born in 1939, making him 81 years old currently, if he's still alive. Now, what did this kindly, if you don't look at his face, old man do to get on this list? He should be out there enjoying his golden years, not being hunted down like a dog. Oh yeah, he murdered his daughter-in-law. Yeah, that'll do it. Tammy Palmer was married to John Palmer, Eugene's son. They lived in Rockland, New York. Eugene actually lived next door. He owned John and Tammy's place. However, after a few years, it seems that Tammy and John's marriage, eventually it was how I like my whiskey, on the rocks, with them both eventually agreeing to see other people. However, over time, their relationship deteriorated to the point where Tammy filed a restraining order against John. As you can imagine, Eugene was not happy about this. I mean, he lived next door. He had a front row seat to everything. And then when Tammy filed a restraining order against his son, that meant that his son couldn't go into Tammy and John's house. Eugene owned Tammy and John's house. So Eugene was pissed at his daughter-in-law, who he thought was a bitch, because she was living in a house he owned that his own son couldn't enter. After that, the relationship between Tammy Palmer and her father-in-law turned into a tit-for-tat war. Apparently, Eugene would shut off electricity to Tammy's house, and Tammy would wake Eugene up by blowing her car horn outside his home at night. The real kicker, however, between Tammy and Eugene came when Tammy threatened to divorce John and then sue Eugene for his land as part of the settlement. On September 24th, 2012, after Tammy walked her children to the bus, as she was walking home, Eugene ambushed her and started shooting at her with a shotgun, hitting her in the chest. She ran, but eventually collapsed dead in her backyard. Yeah, after that, Eugene fled the scene, apparently with just the clothes on his back and slippers. He wasn't even wearing shoes. Then he drove across the street in his pickup truck, went into his sister's house who lived there, gave her a shit ton of money, and told her, to use that money to pay the property taxes because property taxes, right, they're the real killer. He then said, "Give me an hour before you call the police." Somebody else had already called the police.
911, where's your emergency? I heard a shot, a lot of screaming, another shot, no more screaming, and another shot.
But by that time, Eugene Palmer was long gone and he's never been seen since. The police tracked his pickup truck about a quarter-mile away, near Harriman State Park. Dogs found a trail from the truck to a campsite in the park, and it ended there.
A state police helicopter hovered over Harriman State Park this evening, searching for signs of Eugene Palmer. The 73-year-old is the main suspect in the shooting death of his daughter-in-law, Tammy Palmer. Police dogs fueled by the pickup truck Palmer abandoned near the woods yesterday led police to a new area.
And from there, it led them into the Beaver Pond campsite. Once they got in the campsite, they lost the scent.
At first, the campfire led police to believe Palmer was close, but after 30 officers searched for him on the ground, he was still at large.
I don't know how fresh it was. If the ashes weren't hot, so it wasn't like we just spooked him. So he could have spent the night before there. It could have been from somebody 3 days before.
And according to police, Palmer's own family is searching for him in these very same woods. That's what leads police to believe that the man is still here. But a general sweep of the area is nearly impossible because of the sheer size of the park. It is more than 45,000 acres large and straddles 2 different counties. Investigators are eager to find Palmer because they want to know what happened in the moments before the shooting.
There's more than one side to the story. We'd like to hear his side of the story just to find out what actually happened.
Some think he died in the park. Others, he's living out with relatives in upstate New York or Florida. We just don't know. Though that big red face in him should be, easy to spot. He's also got a deformed tongue, so watch out at the next Tum War tournament. With a big yoke like that, he might be the next champ. In 2019, he was added to the esteemed list, and there is a $100,000 reward out for any information.
So it's been almost 7 years since investigators and detectives say Eugene Palmer shot and killed Tammy Palmer, his daughter-in-law, outside her home. Today, we're adding Palmer to the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitive list. Palmer is now the 523rd fugitive added to this list. Eugene Palmer might be thinking we've given up on finding him, but he'd be wise to think again. This is a good time as any to remind him that the team up here plays by a different set of rules. In our eyes, the victim always comes first, and this team will never give up until justice is served.
Alrighty, swiftly moving on. Next up is Alexis Flores, born in 1975 from Honduras. He's also quite possibly known as Carlos. He used quite a number of aliases. At least Carlos is the name he used. When, in the year 2000 in Philadelphia, he was given shelter in the basement of an empty apartment building. Reportedly, at the time he was homeless, and a kind soul helped him out and gave him clothing and work. However, that summer, Iriana De Jesus went missing. 5 days after she was last seen, she was found in the apartment Carlos, quote-unquote, lived in. She had been sexually assaulted, strangled, and wrapped in a trash bag. And Carlos was gone. 2 years later, in 2002, Carlos, Alexis Flores, was arrested for shoplifting in Arizona. In 2004, he was arrested again after he gave the police fake ID when they arrived at his place due to a noise complaint. Alexis was then deported, kicked out of America, sent back to Honduras. He was living in America illegally. And it would be 3 years later that Alexis Flores would be linked via DNA to Iriana de Jesus. However, where he is, nobody knows. Probably still in Honduras, although some people think he may have returned to the States and is somewhere. We just don't know where, obviously. Again, you hear anything, $100,000 are going your way if you have any information leading to his arrest. So don't keep it to yourself. All right, next. And I'm going to butcher some names, you guys. Badresh Kumar Shetan Bay Patel. Sorry, India. Badresh Kumar. I'm just going to call him Bad Boy. It's much easier. Was born in 1990 in India. In 2013, he married Palak Patel. It was an arranged marriage. And in 2014, they traveled to America, visiting Bad Boy's mother. They had only planned on traveling to America, visiting his Bad Boy's mom for 16 days, but evidently they liked it so much they decided to stay on. They eventually ended up in Maryland, and it seems that around this time their marriage became quite strange. Palak, she wanted to return to India. Bad Boy, no sirree Bob. Both their visas had also expired at this point, so the pair of them ended up working in Dunkin' Donuts in Hanover, Maryland. It was owned by a relative, and on April 12th, Bad Boy lured his wife to the back of the shop and, with a knife, stabbed his wife to death just after 9:30 p.m. I guess he really wanted to stay. After the murder, seemingly, that stemmed from an argument they had over her wanting to leave, him wanting to stay. Bad Boy left the store. A couple of hours later, customers started coming in looking for their donkeys. Lights were on, but nobody's home. Eventually, a cop arrived looking for his donuts. He walked into the back of the store, found a grisly scene. It didn't take them long to, check the CCTV and figure out what happened. After the murder, Bad Boy left the store, went to his apartment, got his shit, and then got a cab to a hotel near an airport in Newark, New Jersey. He checked in at 3 a.m., checked out at 10 a.m., got a bus to Penn Station, NYC, and has never been seen again. From Penn Station, you can pretty much get anywhere in America, so he literally could be anywhere. Though more than likely he's embedded in an Indian community somewhere in the States, probably maybe even still in New York or New Jersey. Though he could also have snuck out of America somehow, some way. I mean, if he went to an airport, he would have gotten in trouble because his visa was expired, and also they knew who they were looking for. So once again, 100 big bad boys could be yours if you have any information leading to his arrest. Arnaldo Jimenez is next on our list. 38-year-old Arnaldo has been on the run since 2012 after murdering his 26-year-old wife, Estrella Carrera, whose body was found in their bathtub in Burbank, Illinois. Arnaldo and Estrella had been married for a day, one whole day. Yeah. Estrella had a 9-year-old from a previous relationship, and her and Arnaldo together had a 2-year-old. After their wedding ceremony on May 11th, 2012, it was a surprise. They hadn't told anyone. They had dinner with friends and family before heading out for a night on the town. Oh yeah. On the way home, at about 4 a.m., it's believed they got into an argument in Arnaldo's black Maserati, which ended up with him stabbing her to death. Then he dragged her body into their apartment and dumped her in the bathtub. She was still wearing the dress she got married in, a silver sequined cocktail dress. So, the next day, when she never showed to pick up her kids, she was reported missing, and police would, doing a welfare check, eventually find her. And obviously, no Arnaldo. He had done a runner. Apparently, that very day, he had called Estrella's family and had tearfully told them that he had left her bleeding after a bad fight. Tracking his phone, they learned he used it in Chicago, Memphis, Arkansas, Houston, and then finally in Hidalgo, Mexico. Hasn't been used since. 4 months later, Arnaldo's brother Humberto was arrested on drugs charges, and in his home they found Arnaldo's black Maserati with blood inside, which is how they learned, or think they learned, what exactly happened. It's believed that Humberto drove Arnaldo to Mexico in Arnaldo's black Maserati and then drove back. which is why, hey, they found it still in America, found all the blood now. They had a pretty good idea of what happened. Yeah. Arnaldo is still thought to be somewhere in Mexico after that short-lived marriage to his 26-year-old short-lived wife. Same reward, folks, 100K. Okie dokie then. Moving on. Let's go with Yasser Abdel Said, who, to be fair, looks like a Saddam Hussein cosplayer. He was born in 1957 in Egypt before moving to the US. Apparently, he was just a real dick to his wife, Patricia Owens, who was an American. And together, they would have 2 daughters, Sarah and Amina, a son, Islam, all living together in Irving, Texas. Yeah, he would also physically and sexually abuse both his daughters and would spy on them with audio and video recording equipment.
She smiled to the customers.
She has to, part of her job.
She's in trouble.
Don't even think about it.
So the sleep with her pants. But that's for record, Russian people see how you sleep with your clothes.
Yeah.
Nice legs.
Fuck this dude. He would tell both his girls, no American boyfriend, only Khalkalash, and would later try to arrange marriages for both of them with much older Egyptian men. However, both Sarah and Amina were both secretly dating boys. American boys of all types of boys. And when he learned of this, things didn't get better, let's just say. He tried to beat the name of Amina's boyfriend out of her, and when she wouldn't give it to him, he threatened to kill her. And it would be a threat he would follow up on. Around Christmas 2007, Amina, Sarah, and Patricia ran away to Oklahoma. However, Patricia would eventually tell her daughters she wanted them all to return to Yasser, as he had forgiven them. It's all good. She did this by lying to her daughters. Yes, so it was around Christmas time, and she told her daughters, hey, my mom's dead. I want to lay some flowers on her grave. Pay my respects. Her daughter's like, yeah, cool, we'll do it. It was in East Texas, so we'll drive to East Texas. Halfway there, Patricia was like, yeah, no, fool you, we're actually going back to your dad. He's not happy. But I'm sure he'll be cool. Come on, we gotta go back to him. Yikes. On New Year's Day, 2008, he took Amina and Sarah into his taxi, saying they were going out for dinner. However, instead, he shot them both to death in the backseat, which were honor killings. Murder. The taxi was soon discovered, but Yasser, not so much.
A desperate call for help as 2 beautiful sisters are brutally shot to death in a taxi cab. As she cries in pain, one teen identifies the shooter. She says the man opening fire on her is her own father. Family members say Sarah and Amina were murdered by their father, a Dallas cab driver named Yasser Said, in a horrific honor killing. Said was upset his teenage girls had become too westernized, like their American mother, Patricia, who was born and raised in Texas.
See you, my beautiful mommy.
He has ties to New York, Texas, Virginia, Canada, and Egypt, possibly working as a cab driver in New York or New Jersey. I mean, look at him. He's definitely working as a taxi driver. What a piece of shit. That's disturbing. Swiftly moving on. Santiago Villalba Medeiros, aka Pucho. Cool nickname, bro. He was born in 1991 and has been on the run since 2010 after killing 2 people in Tacoma, Washington. He is a member of the Eastside Locotes Serenos, and in February 2010, him and some of his gang buddies were driving a stolen van around Tacoma in search of rival gang members. This was in retaliation to a shooting 2 days previous. Camille Love, an aspiring veterinary technician, was shot and killed because her and her brother were riding in a red car and her brother was wearing a red coat, the color of the rival gang. Her brother was shot and wounded. A month later, Santiago Villalba Medeiros and some guys were ransacking a car after they thought the owner owed them some money. When 3 people confronted them, Santiago shot and killed Saul Lucas Alfonso. None of these people were linked in any way to any sort of gangs, so well done.
It is believed that Santiago Medeiros, along with others, took part in a planned retaliation of the shooting that injured one of their fellow gang members.
Today, the FBI is adding Medeiros
to its 10 most wanted fugitives list. In addition, we are now offering a reward of up to $100,000 for information leading directly to the arrest of Medeiros. Our hope is that this announcement makes more people aware of our search for Medeiros and that it brings someone forward with information about his whereabouts. Whether Medeiros is in Mexico or still here in Washington or anywhere else in the world, the FBI is committed to finding him and ensuring he faces justice for the innocent lives he took in 2010.
Since then, it's believed he may have fled to Mexico, but he also could have returned to the US. 100 big ones on him for any information. Now, Rafael Caro Quintero is a Mexican drug trafficker, and he made the cut. Apparently, he was one of Mexico's first and most powerful cartel leaders. Now he's on the run. Kind of. He's on the run in the same way these rich and powerful cartel leaders, when they're on the run, they still have time to give interviews. Like El Chapo. Oh, actually, I think they're friends, actually, this guy and him. He's in Narcos, I guess, if you want to learn more about him.
¿Cómo se llama? ¿Cómo se llama?
Rafael Caro Quintero.
Está carnal.
So we can spend all day on this guy because he's a pretty interesting guy. I'll give him that. But let's just stick to why he's on this list. Because he murdered quite a few people. Indubitably. But it was his murder of undercover DEA agent Enrique Camarena Salazar that did him in. He served 28 years in a Mexican jail for that murder when he was actually sentenced to 40.
Rafael Caro Quintero has served 28 years of a 40-year sentence for the brutal death of Drug Enforcement Administration agent Enrique Camarena. A court in Mexico released the former member of the Guadalajara cartel after it ruled that he should have been tried at state level rather than on federal level. The U.S. Justice Department has said it's extremely disappointed by the decision to free Quintero and has made it clear it has a continued interest in securing his extradition to the United States.
So the Americans want him for that, but they also want him for a lot more. It's believed he is in the area of Badiraguato, Sinaloa, Mexico. He's also wanted as he is identified as one of the leaders of the Sinaloa cartel, responsible for smuggling hundreds of tons of meth, marijuana, and cocaine into the United States. The United States Department of State's Narcotics Rewards Program, that's a mouthful, is offering a reward of up to $20 million for information leading to the arrest and or conviction of Rafael Caro Quintero. He's probably the most wanted man on a list of wanted men. And there's quite a few dollary dues, quite a bit of kibosh if you're feeling brave enough to finger him. Wrong word. Next up is Robert William Fisher. What did he do? Oh boy. Robert was born in 1961 in New York City. He was a U.S. Navy veteran, a firefighter, a surgical catheter technician. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the catheter the thing that goes up your, what a job. And he was also a respiratory therapist. He married Mary Cooper in 1987, and together they had 2 kids. The family lived in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Robert was quite an active member of the Scottsdale Baptist Church men's ministry. So the problem in this particular case arose when the quite submissive, maybe timid Mary Cooper decided she wanted to divorce Robert. Now, Robert's mother, she had divorced his dad when he was quite young and she left. And that kind of scarred Robert for his life, really. So he didn't take that well. On the 9th of April 2001, neighbors heard loud shouting and that kind of stuff coming from the Fisher home. And then in the early morning hours of the next day, the house exploded. When the fire was finally put out, the investigators discovered quite a grisly scene.
Found within the home is what is believed to be an adult female and 2 children.
Anybody who may come into contact with them, to just be cautious. At this point, we now know it is a triple homicide.
Mary and their 2 children, Brittany and Bobby, were found to have been killed in their sleep, their throats cut before being shot in the head. Then Robert pulled out the gas furnace. The gas line started pumping gas in, and Robert lit a candle, then fled. he had a 12-hour head start before the house exploded. And he's never been seen since. The night before the murders, CCTV showed Robert taking out $280 from an ATM. A weirdly specific amount and probably not enough to live off for very long. 9 days after what happened, Mary's car was found in the Tonto National Forest, about 50 miles away from the Fisher home in Scottsdale. Their dog was still inside. It wasn't just a random kind of thing that the car was found there. Robert was very familiar with that area. And there happens to be quite a lot of caves nearby that it was theorized that Robert could be hiding in one of them or maybe dead in one. See, at the time when the car was found, there wasn't exactly a thorough search done. As I said, Robert had been there quite a number of times before, recently actually with a friend of his. And it was also theorized that Robert was quite depressed when he found out that his wife was contemplating divorce. So who knows? We just don't know what happened to him. In 2004, a man who looked like Robert Fisher in Canada was arrested. Canada, again, always up to no good. But his fingerprints ruled him out. Whether he's alive or dead, we just don't know. Could be incredibly likely he's still out there somewhere. Theories abound. But as I said, we have no idea. But he's probably the most famous case on the list. And finally, we have Alejandro Rosales Castillo, only 21 years old. Jesus. He was born in 1998 in Arizona. In 2016, 17-year-old Alejandro was living in Charlotte, North Carolina. And, well, he worked at a Showmars restaurant. He worked at the Showmars restaurant with his girlfriend, Amia Feaster. At one point, another co-worker, Truquan Sandy Laila, I'm sure I butchered that again. Why do I even bother? Sandy. She actually had dated Alejandro in the past, but obviously he had a new girlfriend now. Sandy lent Alejandro some money, and he never paid her back. And Sandy would go missing on August 10th, 2016. The next day, Alejandro and his girlfriend Amia would also go missing. What happened to them? Nobody knew at the time. A few days later, Amia's car was found in Charlotte, abandoned. And on that same day, both Alejandro and Amia's families were called by them, saying they were safe, but they didn't know where they were. To which the family suspected they had been kidnapped. And soon after, Sandy's car was found 2,000 miles away in Arizona. Yeah, quite a bit away. So, 3 people who all worked in the same restaurant went missing. What happened was this. On the night of August 9th, 2016, Sandy met up with Alejandro, expecting him to pay her back. He had no intention of doing this. Instead, him and Amia drove Sandy around in Amia's car, and Alejandro forced Sandy to withdraw money from her bank account at gunpoint. She withdrew $1,000, which was her entire bank account. Then they drove to a secluded wooded area, and Alejandro shot Sandy in the head before dumping her body in a ravine. Sandy's body was found a week after she went missing.
Evidence that we've been able to gather over the course of the last 3 days brought us to this area.
Lee has been missing since last Tuesday when friends say she went to meet former co-workers Alex Castillo and his girlfriend Amia Feaster at a gas station on Eastway Drive near Central Avenue. Castillo owed Lee $1,000 she had loaned him, but instead of making a deposit, Lee's bank account was drained, and all 3 disappeared. Tuesday, police issued arrest warrants for Castillo and Feaster for possession of a stolen vehicle after Lee's car was found in Arizona.
Then Alejandro and Amia fled to Mexico, where they were seen on camera. 3 months after Alejandro and Amia disappeared in Mexico, Amia turned herself in to the authorities and was extradited back to the United States. She was charged with accessory after the fact, a felony murder, and larceny of a motor vehicle. She told the police that while they were there in Mexico, those 3 months they were there, they were in Aguascalientes, and one morning she got up, and Alejandro, he was gone. No one knows where he is. And that's it. A quick look, at the FBI's 10 most wanted list. Some batshit shit there, some wackos. In the next video, we'll be back to our one topic where we investigate it in depth. I just wanted to man, there's some really crazy people out there who have never been caught. God knows what happened to most of them. You know, working through this, I kept thinking, why them? There are certainly worse people than these bozos still out there in the loose.
Hey everybody, say hi. Say hi. You don't want to say hi? Careful, Susan, there's a table there. She is a hot mess. You have to take a leap of faith in yourself, no matter what it is in life. Like, take that leap of faith and know that you can do whatever you want to do. I was in a really, really, really bad place, and I got a friend request from Chris on Facebook, and I was like, oh, what the heck? I'm never gonna meet him. Except, well, one thing led to another, and 8 years later, we have 2 kids. We live in Colorado, and he's the best thing that has ever happened to me. And because of my health challenges, because I got so sick, I let him in. And he only knew me at that time. He knew me at my worst, and he accepted me. And, you know, through your vows, like through sickness and everything, he's been there. He was the one that let me lay on him and fall asleep for 3.5 hours on his lap while he had to pee. He is the best thing that has ever happened to me. So with that being said, know that no matter what, and I can go on forever with this story, but I want to cut it short so I don't bore you guys. Know that no matter how hard life gets, no matter how low you feel, know that deep down, in your heart, that there's a purpose, there's a reason for everything. We may not understand it at the time.
We did it. I like that shirt.
Stupid faggot.
Really?
Really?
That's awesome. So pink means...
That's just the test.
I know. It just says the pink is going to be girls.
I don't know. Just the test.
That's awesome.
My name's Nicole, and I'm calling because I'm concerned about a friend of mine. She's not answering the door. She's not responding to text messages, phone calls, and there's no movement in the house whatsoever. Hi.
Here, Nicole?
Yes.
Okay. What's going on?
So, my friend, we were out of town for a business trip this weekend.
Right.
And I dropped her off at 2 o'clock this morning. She's 15 weeks pregnant. She wasn't feeling well. And she had a doctor's appointment this morning at 9, and I told her to let me know if she needed me to take her. She's got 2 little girls. And she was very distraught over the weekend, wasn't eating normally or drinking, and we kept trying to force it on her because she's pregnant. Her husband and her supposedly are separating, but she didn't know that. She thought they were just having issues. He disclosed that to me today. Because I called him and I was like, have you talked or heard from Shanann when she left for work this morning? Because I can't get a hold of her. I called, I texted. Her car's in the garage. Her shoes she wears every single day are right in the front door.
She only has one vehicle?
No, they only have the one vehicle in a work truck.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. There's not a...
Girl that went on a play date, but they're foreign too. She don't have a full date. Why wouldn't she take in a car? They're both in car
Shannon, are you home? Police department, if anyone's inside, make yourself known. Police department, if anyone's inside, make yourself known.
Sandy did open the garage from the outside. What is it? His mom's gonna get it.
Okay. Hey, Chris, Officer Coonrod for the police department. Pretty good. So, do you have any idea where your wife is? Yeah, I mean, I don't see anything out of place. I'm not hearing kids. I'm not hearing anything.
Yeah, and all of her stuff is here, and I set off the alarm by trying to open the garage forcefully, and that didn't work. So, and their alarm's one of the ones where it goes off and it feels like it's making your ears bleed.
Mm-hmm.
So if she was in there,
She should have heard it.
yeah, she would have while she was sleeping, because they have little things on the wall on every room to go off. The neighbor has a camera system.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here. Yeah, give me a call. Okay, give me
Scott, how you doing?
How's it going?
So this is the only vehicle she would have?
Only one that, yeah.
She would drive? Okay. Let's check in the house for consent.
No.
Oh. Well, any friends do you know she would be hanging out with?
I mean,
I know, I guess her parents are out of state.
Across country, North Carolina.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's not happening. All I got was blankie for gone. Their blankie they sleep with, they don't leave anywhere without it.
Good. Nothing else appears to be missing though, just stuff you'd take for a quick trip.
Yeah.
Her phone's here? Her phone's here.
Does she work?
Yeah, she works from home.
Oh, from home?
She works this is her lifeline.
Do you guys have any kind of issues, marital issues, or?
We're going through separation.
You are? Do you guys file it yet or anything, or just talking?
No, I went through, saw the house and through separation.
How's that going?
It's going
still for the most part, or? There was no note or anything by the wedding ring?
No.
It didn't look like she went through and packed up a bag or anything.
There's all that in the bottom, so it's kind of hard to tell if she took a little bit, or I mean, it'd be easy to tell if she took a lot, but it's hard to tell if she took a little bit or not.
Okay. She tell you anything about leaving, moving out?
Not moving out. I mean, last time I talked to her was this morning. She said she's going to take the kids to a friend's house, and she asked where she was going to be. And then I texted her today and never heard anything. But cars here. Cars here. Unless somebody came and picked her up. But the people that I know, nobody's heard from her, nobody's seen her.
Definitely an odd one.
I'm glad to be right off the drive around and like there's no more around that she would be.
Where does she normally go to?
I mean, just like drive where like she would normally take kids to school. People that I know that live down here, people that live, Kristen lives down that way. And that's the only routes I know she would really take.
She go to their house frequently, or?
And not much, but.
Yeah.
Just wait for her.
up here.
Well, I've got my detective coming, just because this was kind of an odd situation. She wouldn't try to get her pinpoint down, find a friend or something. He may have you call the bank.
Hey, sir, it's Chris Watts. Not too bad. Have you heard from Shannon today?
What's that?
Loaded my stuff up in my coolers, my water jugs, my book bag, my computers, some of the tools that I have in my toolbox. I know I'm gonna have to do some pumping into rubbers today. That's what I was out so far.
Is this on continually recording?
Yep. Well,
Is it motion or is it, okay, so it's motion.
any motion event that happens, I get cars driving from this street, and this is him at 517.
My detective just showed up, so he'll probably want to talk to you. He probably, like I said, he might have you call at the bank and see if there's any kind of activity.
Because if there is any sort of action out there, his camera, I would have got it.
Like, we had issues the other week when people were stealing stuff out of like garages and stuff like that. And I had to park right here to someone, I could see someone trying to jim me with a flathead screwdriver over there. And it was just like,
but if any action would have happened, any cars or anything left your house, I would have
I'm like right in that area.
Oh, I don't pick up anything coming down the street this way. You know that tree there? Oh, yeah. Okay.
All right, appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks. Hopefully something comes up here.
No, but you just want to go talk to him, I'm going to get his info real quick. No.
Shanann Watts and her two daughters, 3-year-old Celeste and 4-year-old Bella, vanished on Monday. Their startling disappearance triggering a statewide alert as police and the FBI focus on her home outside Denver, where she was last seen.
When I got home yesterday, it was like a ghost town. Like, she wasn't here. Kids weren't here. I have no idea, like, where they went.
Chris Watts, Shanann's husband, says his wife, who's also 15 weeks pregnant, came home from a business trip at 2 a.m. Monday. The couple having an emotional conversation, he says, before he left home around 5 a.m. Watts says Shanann never returned text messages later that morning, never answered the door when her friend arrived at the home at noon. Watts says he knew something was wrong.
I was trying to get home as fast as I can. I was going through stoplights. I was going through everything, just trying to get home as fast as I can because none of this made sense.
Police who have searched the family home and area with dogs say for now there are no significant leads. The 34-year-old doting mother's car still in the garage.
She left her phone at home, her purse, her wallet, all of her money, her ID.
Hey, Chris. So we need to have everybody step out of the house. Correct. So you can leave that there. You can leave your camera there. Okay. We just.
They moved in just before I did 5 years ago. In fact, before the children were even born.
Okay.
Yeah.
How would you describe your relationship with them?
Cordial.
Cordial?
Yeah. I saw the father. And I see Dad. The end of last week, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I was asking him about the lawn because my lawn had started to die, and what are you doing to keep your lawn green? He told me. I would never have known. Geez, that's scary. Mom and Dad used to live over there too with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
When was the last time you saw Mom and Dad?
I believe it was Dad, and that could have been maybe 3 weeks ago in the backyard.
Okay.
Anything different over the last, I don't know, 2 days, 3 days? Odd vehicles, odd noises, odd lights.
There was a truck out here yesterday. In fact, that's why I thought you were here yesterday. Maybe someone complained about that I hadn't seen before.
What type of truck?
It was kind of almost a steel gray. Don't ask me.
Okay.
Here, but that was late afternoon. The dad has a great big truck, and it's gray. But this is unusual. Very quiet neighborhood.
Yes, this is very unusual. That's why we're trying. Got a lot of resources out here trying to find them and make sure they're okay. So,
I didn't know she was pregnant again. I hardly ever see her.
Okay. How do you know she's pregnant?
It said it on Neighborhood Watch.
Okay. I got you. But you didn't know it?
No.
Okay.
I hardly ever see her. Just normally. They keep very much to themselves.
When you did see her, did you ever see her around her husband?
Yeah.
How
They
were
would
they?
have barbecues.
Yeah. Were they polite, friendly, or was she kind of quiet, reserved? What was it?
They both are very quiet, reserved, very quiet.
Okay. When was the
Nice
last time
neighbors.
you spoke to her?
Oh my gosh. I don't think I've seen her all summer.
Oh, really? Okay. Gotcha. And kiddos, when was the last time you saw little kiddos?
You're making me work my
I
brain.
know, really digging deep in it.
It could be 4 to 6 weeks since they've been out. They have all their little toys, but they don't go outside in the heat of the day. At least that's kind of what I notice. And they don't go outside unless an adult is there.
Wonderful. I'm glad. I mean,
Yeah,
the two little will be out by themselves.
yeah, they are. What are they? 3 and 5, I think. Or 2 and 4, something like that.
3 and 4.
3 and 4.
According to my pamphlet.
Yeah,
So,
they're cute little things.
anything that I haven't asked that you think I should know, or it's just odd, or something you thought was weird?
I wouldn't think anything is weird from over there because normally you hardly ever see anyone go in, come out. Now, I saw his truck leave yesterday. Maybe it was this morning. I was leaving for the gym. His truck had the lights on, which is unusual for that morning. 5:15 in the morning. Only fools like me are up.
So you don't usually see him leave at that time of day? Oh, was that the gray truck, or what truck was that?
That was his regular truck. It's a pretty big truck.
Okay, can you speak up just a little bit so the recorder, I know you're tired and you're stressed, and we won't be here any longer than we have to be. You've already had a conversation with people before. You came here on your own free will to talk to us. We picked you up at your request and brought you here. You can get up and leave at any time. You don't have to talk to us. If there's a question you don't want to answer, don't answer it. If you don't want to talk anymore, just tell me I want to leave. And I'm kind of in the way of the door, but
you're not being interrogated as a criminal suspect. We're here to understand your relationship with Chris and what you know about Chris and his family, and events relating to Chris Watts. Okay, so let's just start with like a timeline of your getting to know Chris, how you guys met, where you met, all those things. Let's just run. And I'm not going to ask you specific questions unless I think it's necessary. I'll let you just tell me your story. I think it's a little bit easier that way. So I just want to know how you met him, where you met him, how long you guys were dating.
I use this to measure the rate of blood flow through your body during the test. So we've actually found it's much more, we get a much better reading if you put it on your calf instead of your arm. So we're going to take Do you know what you use? Okay.
I'm going to use this.
All right.
What's the map for? The map. I said on.
Oh, sorry. That's a motion sensor, Matt. What that does is obviously detect motion and movement in your body. So that's how important it will be that you remain completely still during the testing. If you move your little toe, as you know, with lifting weights and stuff, everything happens from your core. You move your little toe, obviously it's going to register on my sleep pad. So it's very, very sensitive. So that's how important it is that you remain completely still. So this is what we call a directed lie practice test. Okay, and I'm going to my chair over here. So obviously a directed lie practice test kind of gives you an indication that I probably want you to lie on the practice test, right? I don't want you to lie yet. I will tell you when at that point that I want you to lie, okay? How many numbers do you see on this piece of paper? 4. Which one's missing? 3. I want you to write the number 3 on the line where it's missing, okay? And you can use your right or your left hand. Are you right-handed or left-handed? Right. Okay. Pretty good. Okay. So this is the directed lie practice test. So what that means is I'm going to ask you if you wrote every single number on this piece of paper. Okay? I want you to be truthful to all the numbers, but I want you to lie when I ask you if you wrote the number 3. If you really did write the number 3, but I want you to say no, that you did not want you to lie to me, okay? Okay, so during the testing, I'm going to leave this right here. You need to look in the area of this clipboard. You can't look side to side, up, down, wherever Chris wants to look. You don't have to fixate on the number 3, but you're going to be looking basically in this general area right here, okay? So I will tell you when the test is going to begin, and then I will tell you when the test is going to end. The test is about to begin. Please remain still. Regarding what number you wrote on the piece of paper, did you write the number 1?
No.
Did you write the number 2?
No.
Did you write the number 3?
No.
Did you write the number 4?
No.
Did you write the number 5?
No.
This portion of the test is complete. Please remain still while I take the instrument out of operation. Just kind of relax. Feel. Great. Remember to lie and everything. That was awesome. So you obviously are a really bad liar. Have people told you that before? Like the second you tell a lie, like they can tell like on your face that because the second you lie to the number 3, like I don't know if you heard me clicking, but and like turn down the sensitivity because you're starting to go off the page. So that is what I need to see as a polygrapher because that tells me that you know it's wrong to tell a lie. You're actually having a significant reaction when you lie, so that is awesome. So thank you for being a liar. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. We don't want to be good liars. So thank you for being a horrible liar.
Such a long for 9.
He didn't have a wedding ring on his finger.
Is that
And every time I talked to him, he didn't tell me that he was in a relationship. He didn't even mention his kids right away either.
Alarm set for 9 a.m. tomorrow.
And then one day he told me that he had 2 kids. I was like, that's pretty cool. And so tell me about his kids.
That sounded like a sarcastic comment.
No, I thought it was kind of cute. I was like, oh, your dad. It was like right around Father's Day too.
Because we don't have it on tape, we discussed prior to turning the tape on. On Tuesday, which would have been the 14th of August, you had read some newspaper articles on the 13th and the 14th that regarded this case. You had also had a conversation with Chris at some point during the day on Monday. And on Tuesday, because of what you found, specifically what you said was, and don't let me put words in your mouth, but you found out that his wife was pregnant.
Yes.
And you did not know that prior. And you found that out via the newspaper articles, and that caused you concern.
Well, I just realized that he was lying to me, and I was like, well, if you can lie to me about this, what else are you lying to me about? And it made me realize that maybe his wife was in danger at that point, and it was day 2 too, and she still wasn't home.
Tonight we have someone who claims to be from Chris Watts' past. Chris Watts' recent past. And we are not going to show you this person because he wants to continue his life without consequences for speaking out in this case, but we are going to let him tell his part of how he connects to this story. This is a story that we have to be honest with you, we can't independently verify, but it is a story that could be extremely telling as we try to figure out what happened in the Watts family. This is a man who claims to be Chris Watts' former lover, and he joins me now live. Sir, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Some of the stuff you're talking about is pretty hard to believe. And we're getting to the point where we're wondering if you're wasting our time.
I mean, is there a question or, I mean, I don't know how you want me to respond to that. I don't know what else you want me to.
These are the challenges that we have, Brian. You told us that you watched the video over and over. Okay, so we know that you're aware of everything that's out there. And all you talked about are things that anyone else knows. You haven't brought forth any information. You're having sex with a guy in his car. You don't know anything about him other than what the public knows about him. Okay, you took $60 from him. You were self-admitted booty call. And so now we're wondering if you're a hooker who maybe blew a guy who was a murderer and maybe feels guilty about it, or maybe feels like you're going to get in trouble about it. I don't know what's going on with you, but I don't know why you're here tonight.
I'm not a hooker.
So you already said, but you removed text messages?
I deleted all of his stuff because he lied to me. I mean, that's what it was. It was the hurt that made me delete it. And then it was the lie that made me start questioning everything else he'd been telling me for the last few days.
And that's when you decided to come forward?
Yes.
Okay. So just for context,
yes.
When people delete stuff off phones, usually we go,
No, it wasn't malicious at all. It wasn't malicious at all. He lied to me. It just hurt. Like, I had never felt like he'd ever lied to me before. And it was a big lie. I mean, telling somebody that you're in the midst of a divorce and then you have a wife that has a 15-week-old baby on the way is a huge, huge thing. And I was very taken back, and it was hurt. And so at that point, I deleted it. I had a few more quick things to say to him, and then I just got rid of him. That's literally what I did. I just cut him out of my life. It would have honestly been like a bad breakup kind of thing. Like, if none of this other stuff would have happened, that's what it would have been. That would have been the end of it.
The information was not destroyed because there was anything in there that would be harmful to you or potentially to Chris at this point, but harmful to you in particular. That's not what you did.
No.
You did it out of, excuse my language, this guy's an asshole, so I'm getting rid of him, and I'm getting this stuff off my phone.
That was like me kicking him out of my life.
Okay.
And then, like I said, and then realizing that he lied, that was when I was like, okay, maybe his family is in danger and they're not coming back and they're not staying with a friend.
Okay, can you let me know when you're ready to begin? During this part of the test, I want you to focus on the back of the chair, okay? Not looking up, down, side to side, anything like that. I want you to.
Was I doing that?
No, you did great. But obviously the clipboard is gone now, so your area of focus is going to be like in this area, okay?
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Do
Okay, face down. The test is about to begin. Please remain still. Regarding Shanann's disappearance, do you intend to answer all of the questions truthfully?
Yes.
Is your first name Christopher?
Yes.
Did you physically cause Shanann's disappearance?
No.
Were you born in 1985?
Yes.
Are you lying about the last time you saw Shanann?
No.
Do you know where Shanann is now?
No.
This portion of the test is complete. Please make sure the license instrument out of operation.
Did he ever tell you that he loved you?
Yes, he did.
Did you ever tell him the same?
A couple times.
Now, withstanding that today, because those thoughts may have changed for you, but on, let's go Sunday and then Monday, or Monday, did you still love him on those days?
I think it was something where it was like I said it a few times and I meant it, but he definitely felt the urge to say it to me a lot more than I did to him, because it was just all very new to me. And I was like, take your time with this. Like, you don't need to like rush that, you know? Like, I remember when he was in North Carolina and he was like trying to patch things up with his wife and he told me he loved me, and I was like, don't say that to me. Like, please go try to fit. And I mean, and that might even be in the text too, where it's like, don't say those words to me and then go try to make peace with your wife and lay in bed with another woman. Like, just don't do that. And I was like, it's not that I don't appreciate what you're saying to me. It's like, it just didn't sit right for me, you know? So I just really...
Almost like an insecurity where you had to say that to you? Or?
I don't know. I think he like... looking back at all this now, I don't think he was trying to fix things with her. So saying "I love you" to me seemed like probably something that he genuinely meant. Like, I love this woman, and regardless of where he was going to end up that night.
It was clean clear that you were not on this during the testing, and I think you already know that. You did not pass the polygraph test, okay? So now we need to talk about what actually happened. I feel like you're probably ready to do that.
I didn't lie to you on that polygraph, I promise. Chris, I never stop. Hold on for a minute. Take a deep breath. I want you to take a deep breath right now.
We're not here to play games. We're not here to do any of that with you. We just want to know what happened. So can you start from the beginning and tell us what happened?
Everything that I told you, I did not lie on this polygraph. I don't know how much I could tell you right now. Like, I did not.
It's not even an option right now because you did not pass the polygraph. So I know you were being accepted. So that's not even an issue right now. The issue right now is what happened to Cheyenne, Bella, and Celeste. This is where the rubber meets the road, Chris. Like, don't let this continue any longer, please.
I'm not trying to make anything continue. Like, I want them back home. Like,
But you know they're not coming back home.
We're confused as to why you're not taking care of your beautiful children.
I'm not taking care of them right now. Right now. Right. I don't know where they're at. I don't know where they're at.
Chris, right now your dad's outside. He flew across the country to come home.
We know that something happened to all three of them. But I want to know, did something happen to these baby girls first that you had to take into your own hands and deal with?
You had to clean it up for Shanann.
And you either cleaned up after Shanann or you made the mistake. And I want to believe that maybe Shanann did it and you felt compelled to fix this so Shanann didn't look bad. That's what I want to believe. But I don't know, you're not telling me that, so it makes me think the worst. Like, did you?
I did not
do all three of them?
I did not do anything.
What did Shanann do? Tell us, Chris. Chicks are crazy.
Can I talk to my dad or something? Absolutely. Go. Do you want to bring him in here? I just can't talk to my dad. Like, I flew across the country. I can't. How about this? If we brought your dad in here, would you please tell him what happened? I just feel like I'm not been in here for like 5 hours and I'm like, absolutely. Before we get in, can I go out there and talk to him? Well, I don't know that you want to do it out there because there's a lot of people going through the halls. Should we bring him in here?
Let's step out.
Well, how about this? If we bring in your dad, we promise we'll be able to talk to him.
Hey, Chris, we're going to have as much time you need, okay? Sure.
Anybody was in there? No.
Yes.
Sorry. This polygraph failed it. Any reason why they shouldn't? Well, it's not okay. They know I had a affair. They know. I can't think about that. Anything else you want to tell them what's going on? Or how I have to do anything if you really think much. I want to protect her. What? I want to protect her. You don't want to protect her.
You liar, you're the one who killed all three of them, dumb shit. Lying piece of shit. That's not true. She didn't kill him, he did. Fucking bastard. Yeah, they act like they care so much when they want to get answers. Fucking dumbasses. Yeah. True.
After days of searching and hoping for the best possible outcome, yesterday Chris Watts, the father and husband of those missing, was arrested on suspicion of murder. And shortly after, a body believed to be that of Shanann Watts was located nearby.
So what I would like to do is explain the procedures that we're going to use regarding the sentencing hearing. Let me first say that I realize that the sentencing hearing is emotional for many of us. And I expect that your behavior in the courtroom, both in this courtroom and the overflow courtroom, is appropriate. If the court determines that your demeanor, behavior while in the courtroom during the hearing is not appropriate, I have advised the deputies that I will be asking you to be escorted out of the courtroom. So please be mindful of your demeanor during the sentencing hearing. So these are the procedures that we are going to use for the sentencing hearing. First, the prosecution will have an opportunity to present evidence. Once the prosecution finishes, the defense will have an opportunity to present evidence. Then, if there are any victims under the Victims' Rights Act, including Cindy and Ronnie Watts, that have not been called by the prosecution or the defense, or any other defined victims under the Victims' Rights Act, they will have an opportunity to make a statement as it relates to their rights under the Victims' Rights Act. Good morning, Mr. Ruzick.
Good morning.
I would like to say to the courts that Shannon, Bell, and Nico are loving, caring people. They love life. They love being around people who love them. They always had good times This is the first time they went to the beach this year, and they loved it. But God only knows what happened that night. Life will never be the same without Shannon, Bella, and Celeste and Nico. Had all their lives to live. They were taken by a heartless one. This is the heartless one, the evil monster, who dare you take the lives of my daughters Shannon, Bella, Celeste, and Nico. I trusted you to take care of them, not kill them. And they also trusted you. The heartless monster, and then you take them out like trash. You disgust me. They were loving and caring people. You may have taken their bodies from me, but you will never take the love they had from me. They loved us more than you will ever know. Because you don't know what love is. Because if you did, you would not have killed them. You monster. Thought you would get away with this. I don't know how. The cameras do not lie. You carry them out like trash of the house. Yes. I seen the videotape. You buried my daughter Shannon and Nico in a shallow grave. And then you put Bella and Celeste in huge containers of crude oil. You heartless monster. You have to live with this vision every day of your life. And I hope you see that every time you close your eyes at night. Oh, I forgot. You have no heart or feelings or love. Let me tell you something. I will think of them every day of my life. And I love them every day of my life. Prison is too good for you. This is hard to say, but may God have mercy on your soul. I hope you enjoy your new life. It's nothing like the one you had out here. May the courts have no mercy on you. It's hard every day. It hurts in so many ways. I have heard people say that you're not a monster. No, you are not. You're an evil monster. Thank you. Love you, Shannon, Bella, and Nico. Love you, Pop-Up and Deb. And one other thing. And Shannon says she is super excited for justice today. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, Frankie Brusick Jr. He has asked me to read his statement for him, but he would like to stand with me if that's okay. Of course. You went from being my brother, my sister's protector, one of the most loved people in my family, to someone I will spend the rest of my life trying to understand. What gave you the right to put your hands on a woman, let alone my best friend, my beloved sister, your daughters, and your son? Why weren't they enough for you? In the blink of an eye, you took away my whole world, the people that mattered to me the most. Everything in my life I loved, your children. They trusted you. They loved you. They looked up to you because you promised to keep them safe. Instead, you turned on your family. My blood is boiling as I write these last words because they are the last you will ever hear from me. I can't even think of the right words to describe the betrayal and the hate I feel. And to be honest, you aren't even worth the time and effort it takes to put my pen to this paper. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't cry for my family. They were my whole world. All I do is ask myself why. Why would you do this? You don't deserve to be called a man. What kind of person slaughters the people that love them the most? Did you really think you would get away with this? Did you really think that this was your best option? To throw away your family like they were garbage? They deserve better and you know it. I hope you spend the rest of your life staring at the ceiling every night, being haunted by what you've done. None of us deserve this. Hearing my mother and father cry themselves to sleep in this hotel room causes me anguish that is beyond words. I can't describe how this feels, how badly my heart is breaking for my poor parents. We trusted you. You have taken away my family from this earth, but you can never take them from my heart. You took away my privilege of being an uncle to the most precious little girls I've ever known. I will never hear the words Uncle Frankie again, but you will never be called Dad again either. You'll never be able to put your hands on another woman, let alone my best friend, my beloved sister, and your son. I just can't comprehend how they weren't enough for you. Shanann, Bella, and Cece loved you more than anyone. You were their hero. How could you destroy the people who loved them the most? I pray that you never have a moment's peace or a good night's rest in the cage you'll spend every day of your life in. A cage you are privileged to live in because my family isn't evil like you. We beg the district attorney to spare your life because despite everything, we believe that no one has the right to take the life of another, even someone like you. I feel sorry for your family. I know the pain that they must feel knowing that they can't hug you, because that's how my mother, father, and I feel every time we cry for our family. Nothing hurts more than watching or hearing my family weep for their loved ones. I just wish that I could tell that you would tell the truth, but I know that that is asking for more than you are capable of. I stayed up all night writing this statement. I don't sleep because of you. My life will never be the same because of you, but at least my conscience is clear. I get to live free, but I can't say the same for you. I haven't slept in 2 days because I've been anxiously waiting for this moment, the moment I get to tell you how I feel, how this has affected my family and I. My family and I can finally grieve after today. If anything, we will come out of this stronger today than we were before, and we will continue to pray for your family. Sincerely, Frankie Rusak.
My name is Sandra Rusak, Shannon's mother. I wanted to say thank you for this moment. I want to take a moment to thank everyone who has prayed for our beloved family, who has sent gifts, cards to us from all over the world. I know God will put the evil people where they need to be. I also want to take the time to thank the town of Frederick, Greeley, FBI, the DA's office, the CBI, for exceptional work. We thank Nicole Atkinson, Shannon's neighbor, Nathan, and his family. To me, they're our heroes. They really are. God bless. God makes no mistakes on who he puts in your life. Marriage is about love, trust, and friendship and unity. We marry for sickness and health, to death do us part. Our daughter Shannon loved you with all of her heart. Your children loved you to the moon and back. Shannon's family was her world. Shannon put a crown on your head. But unfortunately, the day that you took their life, God removed that crown. We loved you like a son. We trusted you. Your faithful wife trusted you. Your children adored you, and they also trusted you. Your daughter Bella Marie sang a song proudly. And I don't know if you got to see it, but it was Daddy, You're My Hero. I have no idea who gave you the right to take their lives. But I know God and his mighty angels were there at that moment to bring them home to paradise. God gives us free will. So not only did you take the family of four, your family of four, you took your own life. I want the world to know that our daughter and her children were so loved by us. They will always be protected by God and his mighty angels. I didn't want death for you because that's not my right. Your life is between you and God now, and I pray that he has mercy for you. From Shannon's mother, Bella Marie, Celeste Catherine, and Nico Lee's Nana. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, that's all the witnesses that I had intended on calling, and I know that the court addressed this during the procedural posture. I am aware that Mr. and Mrs. Watts would also like to address the court. I would certainly invite the court, if you want, at this point, to call upon them, or we can certainly do it after any evidence that the defense has as well.
Sure. Does Cindy or Rodney Watts wish to make a statement? Should they confront tonight?
Good morning, Your Honor.
Introduce yourself for the record.
I'm Cindy Watts.
Rhonda Watson, I have authorized you to make a statement to the court as paternal grandparents of your children.
And if you choose not to make a statement that your designee, Ms. Powers, chooses to, she can do so as well. How would you like to proceed?
Can I read that? I will start. I want you to start. I would like to read
Who's
that.
going to be speaking today?
Your Honor, initially, they've asked me and they're hoping that they have the strength to speak, but if they do not, they've written out their statements and asked me to finish for them. So
That would be fine. Who would like to go first?
if I could start, Your Honor. On behalf of the Watts, Your Honor, and to the community, we thank you for the opportunity and the recognition under the Victim Bill of Rights. We come today as the grandparents and the parent of the daughter and children whose life was taken in this case. We are not here to ask for leniency. We are not in any way condoning or tolerating the crime that has occurred and the pain that has been caused. We join in our daughter-in-law and grandchildren's family in saying this should never have happened. This is not condonable. This is something that we will never get over. We appreciate the consideration that everyone has paid, most especially the families that have lost everyone. We appreciate that they begged for Christopher's life. We agree and echo what they have said, that it is not his place to take anyone's life, nor would it be our place as a community to take his life. So we thank you for the opportunity and for every consideration and effort that's been put out. The prosecution in this case has in fact respected the Victim Bill of Rights. They took the time to explain that the information that my clients had at the time that they were interviewed was not correct. They were misinformed. They were searching for answers. They were not intending to cause any pain to anyone. And they appreciate that the prosecution answered their questions and gave them the time and the respect and the consideration so that they could tell this court and everyone in this community that the interview content was not their message, that they accept that their son has done this, that they accept that he chose to plead guilty, that he sought and requested their consent and agreement for a life sentence. They appreciate that he is given the opportunity to serve that life sentence. It is his responsibility, it is his sentence, and it is not enough to make up for what has done. We understand and we join the family in that we have questions. We don't know how such a thing could possibly happen, or that a man that was responsible for raising his children and protecting his wife would take the steps that he did, and that he would disregard their bodies and the love that he had for them and they had for him and everyone else, and take the gestures and put this community through the investigation and the discovery and the responsibility of bringing justice. We do not understand that. We do not think it was appropriate. We cannot begin to think that an explanation will ever justify it. My clients indicate that they understand that a full opportunity for a confession with all of the responsibility and accountability has not occurred. And they support the family and the request that that happen, if not today, at an appropriate time, in an appropriate manner, so that everyone can have peace, to understand to the best of their ability the details that they need and to have their questions answered. And by giving this opportunity of a life sentence, we hope that he embraces that moment. That had the death penalty been pursued, there would not have been an opportunity to be accountable and to give a full confession. And had the death penalty been sought, counsel would have fought for his life. The prosecutors would have been engaged in a multiple-year battle. The families would have been torn apart. This community would have had to subsidize it and endure it. And we have so much respect and gratefulness that that did not happen. We would strongly encourage Christopher Watts to give that full confession in the tone and in the timing that he thinks is appropriate with the guidance of his counsel. We feel that it would be appropriate and helpful to ease the pain and the suffering. But we also say, we don't think that there's anything that he can say that will ever account for his behavior. There's nothing that can be done to cure the harm he has caused. And he has the responsibility to serve his sentence with dignity and with regard for everyone, and to spend every breath that he has left in an atonement for what he has done. Do you want to read this?
Cindy Watts. My name is Cindy Watts. I am the grandmother of two beautiful granddaughters, Bella Marie, Celeste Catherine Watts. I am also the mother of Christopher Watts, who I will be directing most of my statement to. First, I'd like to begin by recognizing the absolute horror of this crime and acknowledging the devastating loss that both the Rusek family as well as our family have faced. Our families have been irreparably broken by the needless deaths of Shanann, Bella, Cece, and Nico. This is something we will never get over. We will always mourn the loss of our family, and in that, we are united in our grief. I am still struggling to understand how and why this tragedy occurred. I may never be able to understand and accept it, but I pray for peace and healing for all of us. Now to my son, Christopher. I have known you since the day you were born into this world. I have watched you go from a quiet and sweet, curious child, who Bella reminded me so much of, to a young man who worked hard in sports and later mechanics to achieve your goals. You are a good friend, brother, father, and son. We have loved you from the beginning, and we still love you now. This might be hard for some to understand, how I can sit here under these circumstances and tell you, although we are heartbroken, although we can't imagine what could have led us to this day, but we love you. Maybe you can't believe it either. As the Lord said in Jeremiah 3:31, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore, I have continued my faithfulness to you. And you, as your mother, Chris, I have always loved you, and I still do. I hate what has happened. Your father and sister and I are struggling to understand why. But we will remain faithful as your family, just as God remains faithful because of his unconditional love for us all. We love you, and we forgive you, Son. If I could read Mr. Watts' statement. My name is Ronnie Watts, and I am the grandfather of Bella, Celeste, Nico Watts, and I am the father of Shannon. I am the father of Christopher Watts as well. And one of the most important things I've done in my life is to raise my children and to watch as they started their own families. I spent many years coaching Little League and talking to my son, taking him to the races, and sharing my love and knowledge of cars with him. He was just as involved with his girls. I believe he loves his girls. I know he does. This tragedy has impacted my family in so many ways. Beyond losing my precious grandchildren, our beloved daughter-in-law, we are forced to question everything. We still don't have all the answers, and I hope one day, Christopher, you can help us. Chris, I want to talk to you as a father and son. You are here today accepting responsibility, but I want to tell you this now. I love you. Nothing will ever change that, and I want you to find peace, and today is your first step. The Bible says if we confess our sins, God is faithful and just and will forgive us. Chris, I forgive you, and your sister forgives you, and we will never abandon you, and we love you. Dad. Judge, thank you for the opportunity to address the court.
adequately describe the unimaginable tragedy that brings us before this court today. By my comments, I'm not even going to try to express the horror, the pain, or the suffering that the defendant has caused to these families, to this community, and to all who are a part of this investigation. However, I do want to spend a few minutes sharing with the court the details of the crime, as so far you've only had an opportunity to review the affidavit and a few facts here and there that have been offered to the court in the motions and pleadings that have been filed. The questions that have screamed out to anyone who will listen since August 13th of 2018 are why and how? Why did this have to happen? How could a seemingly normal husband and father annihilate his entire family? For what? These are the questions that only one individual in this courtroom or on this planet knows the answers to. I fully expect we will not receive the answers to these questions today, nor will we at any point in the future. I don't expect that he will ever tell the truth about what truly happened or why. Even if he did, there is no rational way that any human being could find those answers acceptable responses to such horrific questions. The best we can do is try to piece together some kind of understanding from the evidence that is available to us. And the evidence tells us this: the defendant coldly and deliberately ended 4 lives, not in a fit of rage, not by way of accident, but in a calculated and sickening manner. Shanann was 34 years old. She married the defendant in November of 2012. Over the weekend leading up to August 13th, she had been at a work conference in Phoenix, Arizona, and returned home in the early morning hours of August 13th. We know that she got home about 1:45 in the morning. The doorbell camera on their home shows her arriving back home from the airport. Shortly thereafter, at least according to the defendant, they had what he referred to as an emotional conversation about the state of their marriage and about what their lives would look like going forward. What was said during that emotional conversation, only he knows. What we do know is that shortly after that, the defendant strangled her to death with his own hands. We know that he slowly took her life the morning of August 13th. We know that this was not done in an uncontrolled, vengeful manner that he tried to describe to agents from CBI and the FBI. If that were the case, you would expect to see vicious, horrible bruising about her neck, shoulders, and face. You would expect to see the hyoid bone in her neck broken. You would expect to see some kind of defensive wounds on his body as she struggled and fought for her own life. None of those are present. The only injuries that were on Shanann's body were one set of finger or bruising, what appeared to be fingernail or finger mark bruising to the right side of her neck. We know that our experts will tell us that it takes 2 to 4 minutes to strangle someone to death manually with their own hands. The horror that she felt as the man that she loved wrapped his hands around her throat and choked the life out of her must have been unimaginable. Even worse, what must Bella, age 4, and Celeste, age 3, must have experienced or thought as their father, the one man on this planet who was supposed to nurture and protect them, was snuffing out their lives. They both died from smothering. Let me say that again. The man seated to my right smothered his daughters. Why? Imagine the horror in Bella's mind as her father took her last breaths away. Your Honor, understand very clearly, Bella fought back for her life. The frenulum, the connective tissue between her upper lip and her gum, had a centimeter and a half laceration. She bit her tongue multiple times before she died. She fought back for her life as her father smothered her. Celeste had no such injuries. In fact, she had no external injuries at all. But according to the medical examiner, she was smothered nonetheless. The defendant then methodically and calmly loaded their bodies into his work truck not in a hasty or disorganized way. He was seen from the neighbor's doorbell camera, backing his truck into the driveway, going back and forth into the house and back out to the truck 3 different times, 1 time for each of their bodies. He then drove them away from their family home 1 final time, intent on hiding any evidence of the crimes that he had just committed. In 1 final sign of callousness for his wife, his daughters, and their unborn son and their remains, he drove them to a location that he thought no one would ever find them, to one of the oil tank batteries with which he was so familiar. He knew this was safe. He had texted a coworker the night before saying, "I'll head out to that site. I'll take care of it." He had carefully ensured that he would be alone in the middle of the plains to secrete away the remains of his family in a place that he hoped they would never be found. In 1 final measure of disrespect for the family he once had, he ensured that they would not be together, even in death, or so he thought. He disposed of them in different locations. He buried Shanann and Nico in a shallow grave away from the oil tanks. Bella and Celeste were thrown away in the oil tanks at this facility. Different tanks, so these little girls wouldn't be together in death. Imagine this, Your Honor. This defendant took those little girls and put them through a hatch at the top of an oil tank, 8 inches in diameter. Bella had scratches on her left buttocks from being shoved through this hole. A tuft of blonde hair was found on the edge of one of these hatches. The defendant told investigators that Bella's tank seemed emptier than CC's because of the sound that the splashes made. These were his daughters. Significantly, when his coworkers arrived at the tank battery later that morning, to a person, they all described him as acting completely normally. It was a normal workday, even while his daughters sank in the oil and water not far away from him. And then his efforts at deception truly began. We've all seen the emotionless interviews that the defendant gives to the local media, asking for help in locating his family. We watched as he claimed that the house was empty without them, and that he hoped that they were somewhere safe, and that he just wanted them to come home. He told investigators that they were at home sleeping when he left for work that morning, and that Shanann had told him that she was taking the girls to a friend's house for the day. What is striking about this case, Your Honor, beyond the horrors that I've already described to you, is the number of collateral victims that he created by his actions. While he stood in front of TV cameras asking for the safe return of his family, scores of law enforcement officers, neighbors, friends, and family scoured the area, fretted for their safe return. They texted him begging for any information and sending him their best wishes, all the while he hid what he had done. The list of indirect victims does not end there. Think of the firefighters and the Colorado State Patrol hazmat experts who had to don protective suits and who were called upon to pull Bella and Celeste out of those oil tanks. Or the coroner employees who had to conduct these autopsies. Or the victim assistants who frantically attempted to ease the suffering of those affected. All of this, Your Honor, for what? Why? Why did this have to happen? His motive was simple, Your Honor. He had a desire for a fresh start, to begin a relationship with a new love that overpowered all decency and feelings for his wife, his daughters, and unborn son. While Shanann texted the defendant over and over again in the days and weeks leading up to her death, attempting to save her marriage, the defendant secreted pictures of his girlfriend into his phone and searched and texted her at all hours of the night. While Shanann sent the defendant self-help and relationship counseling books, one of which, ironically enough, was thrown in the garbage, he was searching the internet for secluded vacation spots to take his new love in researching jewelry. And while Shanann took the girls to visit family in North Carolina, the defendant went to car museums and the sand dunes with his new girlfriend. The stark contrast between the subjects of their internet and text content is absolutely stunning. Even the morning after he killed them and disposed of their bodies, he made several phone calls. One was to the school where the girls were supposed to start, telling the school that the girls would not be coming to school anymore, that they were being unenrolled, presumably to give him some more time before law enforcement notification about them going missing. He contacted a realtor to start discussing the selling of his house, and he texted with his girlfriend about their future. None of this answers the questions of why, however. If he was this happy and wanted a new start, get a divorce. You don't annihilate your family and throw them away like garbage. Why did Nico, Celeste, Bella, and Shanann have to lose their lives in order for him to get what he wanted? Your Honor, justice demands the maximum sentence under the agreement reached by the parties. As you will recall, the agreement calls for life sentences as to Shanann, Bella, and Celeste, and all of those to run consecutively to one another. It also calls for the count of unlawful termination of a pregnancy as to Nico to run consecutively to counts 1, 2, and 3. I would suggest that the extreme aggravation present in the defendant's conduct and in the efforts that I have described mandate that the sentences for counts 7, 8, and 9, the tampering with the deceased human body, each be the maximum of 12 years, and that those sentences run consecutively to one another. It is very clear that each of these acts, that these were not the subject of one act, but each oil tank that he walked up with his daughter's bodies and the hole that he dug for his wife and unborn son mandate a mandatory consecutive sentence. It's been alluded to this morning, but the defendant was certainly eligible for the death penalty in this case under the existing law in the state of Colorado. As you heard, Shanann's family strongly opposed my office seeking the death penalty and being bound to the criminal justice system for the next several decades. That's in large part, as you've heard, why we have reached the agreement that we have. 4 lives were lost at the hands of the defendant on August 13th for reasons that we will never fully understand, nor will we know. In the end, the Rusick family was much more merciful towards him than he was towards his wife, his daughters, and his unborn son. Prison for the remainder of his life is exactly where he belongs for murdering his entire family. Thank you. I am, Your Honor, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. Mr. Watts has asked us to share this morning that he is devastated by all of this. And although he understands that words are hollow at this point, he is sincerely sorry for all of this. Thank you.
Showing mercy on Mr. Watts is understood. And I respect that decision to request that the district attorney not seek the death penalty in this case. And so the court is going to accept this plea bargain under the circumstances. Words that come to mind when I hear the evidence in this case are a senseless crime and the viciousness of the crime. And equally aggravating in this court's determination is the despicable act of disposing of the bodies in the manner in which they were done in this case. I've been a judicial officer now for starting my 17th year, and I could objectively say that this is perhaps the most inhumane and vicious crime that I have handled out of the thousands of cases that I have seen. And nothing less than a maximum sentence would be appropriate. And anything less than the maximum sentence would depreciate the seriousness of this offense. So the court is going to sentence Mr. Watts as follows. With regard to count number 1, murder in the first degree as it relates to Shanann Watts, the court is going to sentence you, sir, to a life sentence in the Colorado Department of Corrections, followed with no possibility of parole. And that is going to run consecutively to all but counts 3 and 4. With regard to count 2, as it relates to murder in the first degree, with Bella, the court is going to sentence you to life in the Colorado Department of Corrections with no possibility of parole. With regard to count number 3, the court is going to sentence you as it relates to Celeste to life in the Colorado Department of Corrections with no possibility of parole. With regard to counts 4 and 5 relating to Bella and Celeste as a different theory of first-degree murder, the court is going to sentence you to life in the Colorado Department of Corrections, and legally those sentences must run concurrently as a different theory of first-degree murder. Recognizing the unlawful termination of pregnancy for the unborn child that has been named Nico, the court absolutely believes that the maximum sentence of 48 years would be appropriate to run consecutive to the other charges, with an additional mandatory parole period of 3 years as set forth by statute. With regard to count number 7, as it relates to tampering with a deceased body, as well as counts 8 and 9, each a class 3 felony, the court is going to impose a maximum sentence of 12 years each for those counts to run consecutively to the other counts. The court is going to order that statutory fees be paid and court costs. The court's going to grant the prosecution 91 days to file a notice of restitution, and that will be the sentence of the court. We will shortly be in recess. I would respectfully ask the parties that you remain in your seat. There is a plan by the deputies on allowing people to exit the courtroom, so please remain seated until you are authorized to leave the courtroom based on the direction of the deputies. Deputies, I would respectfully ask that you take this defendant into custody and have him serve the rest of his life in the Department of Corrections. We are in recess.
Wait a minute.
As everyone knows, Northside's been locked down the last couple days. We had an inmate that was stabbed 3 times in the neck. He come running off the yard. Staff responded immediately and started shaking down the north yard. And in that shakedown, we come up with 15 additional shanks. So very alarming.
It's been a long, hot summer at Ross Correctional Institution in Southern Ohio. Inmate fights, assaults on staff, drug smuggling. All seem to be on the rise. And the North Side, home to some of the toughest inmates in the state, is ground zero for trouble.
A little riot popped up in our block. About 30 of us going at it. Filled up the whole range. Squad, head hook, ride, basic, forward, march.
The prison response has been swift.
Get back off the door.
Over the last couple of weeks, we've found just a lot of tension in this part of the compound. And when you add all these together, the potential, if this gets bigger, could be huge.
Now the North Side is on lockdown. One of the most potent tools a warden can use to control the inmate population. A dramatic step in restoring order. 3 days have gone by. Enough time to gradually ease the restrictions. There's movement on the yard again, but tensions remain.
It can go from normal, like us talking right now, to dangerous in seconds in here. In seconds. Playing cards at the table. I say something out my mouth, you say something back. Now we both at each other's throats, and we're gonna kill each other.
And one faction, the Aryan Brotherhood, has been getting special attention. Extortions, attacks on inmates, and attacks on staff. Carried out by a group considered a security threat by the system. With members like William Sands.
I'm an Aryan God, man. They'll never break me. My spirit's too strong, man. Let these dudes break me because that's what they want. A whole bunch of zombies to walk around here scared to death of them. I'll never, it's not happening. Fear no man but myself. That's who I fear, myself.
Sam's, aka Bulldog, is on his way to a segregation unit, already crowded with recent troublemakers.
Got me assault on a police officer.
Bulldog got into an argument with an officer that escalated into an assault.
We get in there and he's like, he's barking. When he tells you to do something, you do it. I'm sick of you skinhead. I said, well, that's good. And he said, what? I said, because I'm not a skinhead, And I guess he got a little mad. And before you know what's happening, it's too late, man. Do what you got to do. Because I'm going to do what I got to do. And I'm going to stand on these 2 feet, man. Regardless of where I'm at or who it against. You disrespect me and put your hands on me. And there's no more boundaries, dude. I'm not Jesus. Jesus turned the other cheek. No, not Bulldog, bro. You hit me, I'm going to tear your ass up.
Just like on the street, the Ohio prison system has laws, rules of conduct that can't be broken. And if Bulldog is found guilty of these new charges, he'll earn a trip to the jail within the prison system, known simply as Lucasville.
The reputation of Lucasville, it's dangerous.
They're just hardcore inmates. If you stabbed or killed in these other places or done something real serious, that's where everybody goes to.
It's like zoo, man, for real. That's exactly what it's like. You see the animals caged at the zoo, that's exactly what the hell it is.
Some guys been back there, man, for years. They balloon, man.
most of the people there is never getting out. Never getting out. So what the hell do they care about killing you? I mean, it don't mean nothing to them.
The Southern Ohio Correctional Facility opened in 1972. Back then, the design was state-of-the-art. A pattern of modules formed into a shape that resembles a telephone pole. Each module, J block, K, and L, connects to the main cord. 22 acres under one roof, housing 1,450 inmates who've earned their right here. Every inmate has broken the rules. Many have even committed new crimes behind bars. It's a fact of life in Ohio's toughest prison, one that keeps Major David Warren on the move.
When I was just in there fighting, dude, all I know is that I got hit from the side, and all I'm saying is that it either was a CO or another inmate. Why am I going to the help? If I feel like I got to do something to somebody to hurt them or something like that, I'm going to let it be known. So when the do take place, they already aware that it was going to happen. You see what I'm saying, Major?
I understand. It's just something about the mentality of the inmate that comes into Lucasville. They feel like they have to earn a reputation or something. You're getting individuals that are at the low point of their behavior. They're most frustrated, hostile.
I don't understand how you guys can justify taking our privileges and giving privileges to guys that you're punishing. How do you do that?
You're on the list. You get out of here as soon as I get a set.
It's crazy, man. There's guys that have been back here in these 4B blinds for I don't know how many years. Yeah, years plural though. It's a nut house, man. You're locked down 23 hours a day. You're stuck behind the goddamn this little steel box.
At Lucasville, any freedom of movement is exploited, and the fights come hard and fast. The prison has more attacks on inmates and staff than any other facility in the state. 400 incidents and counting in 2010 alone. And some confrontations are extreme, like this one involving an inmate armed with a spray bottle filled with feces and urine.
Allow me to do my job and my staff to do their job, okay? All right.
And after any event, it's up to the major to follow up, to make sure that the punishment is proper and everything is by the book.
What's going on? You had a spray bottle and you continued to try to spray my staff with feces and urine, and you continued to refuse to cuff up. So we had no alternative but to extract you at that point. You had every opportunity to come out, correct?
Once they come in the cell, it's you. I ain't got no, I didn't even try to resist them. Yeah, I didn't use force against them, they used force against me.
What about the shampoo bottle you had full of feces and urine that you sprayed on my team?
That's been hard.
Coming into this setting, it's pretty overwhelming.
When they step off the bus, they see our presence and they see us not backing up. And it's not an issue where we're trying to be macho or hard. It's just the way it is. We want to let them know when they call the bus, this is our prison. And when you come here, you've already got in trouble with your prison. Now you're going to have to learn how to behave.
Transfer day at the Southern Ohio Correctional Facility in Lucasville. 7 inmates are arriving from Lebanon Correctional Institution.
New ones you can see their eyes as they walk onto the bus. Like now I'm at the big house.
They have all broken the rules of the system, and for it, have been sent here to serve jail time of sorts, entering a new world in doing time.
There. Arms up. Turn around on your feet. Just one call. Get ready. Close your mouth right there. Turn around on your feet. Yep. Yep. One call. Get ready.
Intake at Lucasville is the inmate's first taste of maximum security. And with it, the loss of the relative comforts of general population.
Any kind of cup with a handle they can't have, a search power cord they can't have, purple stuff like this they can't have. You have to take a blanket, put a t-shirt, they can't have either one of those.
Any item of any color not issued or sanctioned is put in storage.
I heard about my purple now. Oh, that hurts. 9 years of my life there. Got chopped down pretty good.
So you hear a lot of stuff about Lou. Like, Lou is the big talk of all prisons. So when you're coming up here, you're like, oh man, I'm gonna do this. I'm never gonna get out. I'm gonna get up here, someone to come in and stab him. You know, stuff like that's what you're thinking. So yeah, it's rough.
Glenn Chasteen is just 22 years old, but is already a veteran to Ohio's system, entering the 6th year of his sentence for armed robbery.
We got drunk after a graduation party. And my dude had a gun. We just went out and robbed somebody. Like, it's just, I don't even know why. We were just drunk. And I ended up taken out for it. I was a juvenile at the time. I was only 17. I still want to do a lot of things I miss that young people do. Like, haven't ever been to a club, never been to a strip club, I've never been to a bar after 10 o'clock. You know, so I've never been to anything you need an ID over 18.
At Lucasville, it's not about the crime that got you to prison. It's about the rules you broke once inside. In April 2010, Chasteen was charged with possession of a deadly weapon, a 12-inch shank. He was sentenced to 6 months in the hole, a raise in his security, and with it, a trip to Lucasville. All over a charge he claimed was about loyalty, about protecting his cellmate.
My dude already had a knife case, and I knew if he caught another one, he was going down smoking, that he was going to end up here, and he has to see the parole board again. So, you know, I mean, that stuff, that's little stuff for real. That's your dude. I didn't know I was coming here for it.
Lucasville is Glenn Chasteen's 4th prison in 5 years.
Step on in, gentlemen. Step on in.
And it also may be his last. He has just 9 months left before his release, time that just got harder. Lucasville is at capacity, so tonight, all 7 of the new arrivals are placed in temporary cells in the prison's toughest tier, J2. Segregation, the hole at Lucasville.
I'm trying to do my little 9 months and chill. But if I get hit, somebody throws something on me, and I'm kind of in a predicament. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try to avoid all that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to kick it with too many people.
Chasteen is at the beginning of a journey every inmate takes at Lucasville. New arrivals are classified as 4B, a designation that typically means up to a year in strict confinement. The hole for the entire state, with limited privileges and little movement. Break the rules and the clock on leaving 4B resets. Toe the line and move to level 4A, and a chance to leave Lucasville. It's rigid control, dictated by the kind of inmates who come here, and overseen by Warden Donald Morgan.
Every facility, you'll have 1% of the offenders that do not want to follow policy and procedure. They disrupt the normal operations of that institution.
Got that little application up here.
Essentially, Lucasville is made up of everybody's 1% and gives me a total of 100% of your inmates that does not want to follow the rules and regulations. At a level 4 facility, we control every movement of an offender. everywhere an offender goes. His movements are under constant security supervision.
It's discipline and control that translates to the hardest time an inmate will face in Ohio. But even in a prison as locked down as Lucasville, trouble is always just around the corner. On L side, a Signal 3 alert has been called. 2 inmates are fighting on the range. The punches thrown as they were coming back from rec, during the precious few seconds before they were locked back in their cells. Fights like this happen almost every day here, and are often met with mace.
There's Jordan.
Hold on.
Let's go.
You want to be on guard. You never want to turn your back to offenders in any facility, especially Lucasville.
At the Ross Correctional Institution, Bulldog has been found guilty in prison court of attacking an officer. One of the most serious offenses behind bars. Now the administration may raise his security level to 4B and ride him out to Lucasville.
We'll do your transfer hearing today. We'll start as a 4B hearing. We'll see whether we finish as a 4B or finishes as a level 3.
Today's hearing is about determining whether Bulldog's actions make him a security threat. And the numbers he's accumulated on his prison rap sheet are already working against him.
First, verifying by RID. That's a yes, that's 2 points. Local control placement within the last 12 months, that's what you're currently in, is local control. So you get 3 for that, and the most recent violence indicator, that was your rule 4. So with that, tell us why you think you should or should not be placed in level 4B.
All this happened in a span of 6-7 months. But there's only one real severe charge here, was the rule 4.
In order to be considered for level 4B, you have to meet at least one of these 8 criteria. I'll give you a copy of this. You've met 3 of the 8. You only have to meet the 1. I am going to make the recommendation level 4B, Mr. Stanley. With that, you have a right to appeal this.
No, that's a waste of time.
No appeal?
No.
All right.
You know what you got coming with me. There's a certain line you're going to cross, and you got to watch that line, because if you touch it, it doesn't matter who you are, I'm going to flare up on you, period. It's a selective process how you guys choose who you get 4B to. Dudes that have 10, 12 points, refuse and lock, and get caught in homosexual activity or whatever they do. But you know what I mean? I'm beat up a CO, but then I'm a bad guy. I don't bar that. I'll come back and get him again.
You've earned another conduct report. Okay. I know you don't.
Write 5 more.
For threats.
Okay.
Okay. We're done.
Write 10 tickets. Send one of them to my mom, tell her I said I love her. If you need a pen, I think I can find you a pen to write that ticket with.
Thanks. I've got my own.
Man, that dude can eat my. His best bet be to get me the out of here as fast as he can. I don't care about going home. I don't care about none of that, man. You're gonna respect me. Whether you got that shirt on or not, you're gonna respect me, man. I demand respect. And that's what I do. You know what I mean? Let's gas the bus off.
Miles to the south, it's day 2 of Glenn Chastine's time at Lucasville. And this morning he's on the move. headed out of his temporary cell in segregation to confront his new home.
In prison, face is everything. An image in here is so much more important than anything on the streets.
Chasteen is moving to Unit K4, a 4B block where inmates are held on 23-hour lockdown.
The noise is the worst thing. They don't ever shut up while you're sleeping. It'll be 3 o'clock in the morning, so you're screaming, yelling.
Inmates call the yelling cell banging, and newcomers like Chasteen draw immediate attention.
Well, no, I'm afraid no, what? What is that? What's up?
Well, they got nothing better to do. You know what I'm saying? They're bored. I ain't tripping. They ain't about to bet off me. I ain't about to bet off them. So they can yell all day if they want. I ain't tripping. You know I'm long enough though. We'll just shut up. Fall back. They ain't got nobody to argue with. They ain't no fun. You feel me?
There's two worlds here in Lucasville, 4B and 4A. First, you got to make it out of 4B when you get here. I did 9 months in 4B and it was horrible. I couldn't stand it. Stayed on headphones all day.
John Shear has been at Lucasville for more than a year and has made his way into 4A, where he's earned the nickname Cheese for his ever-present smile.
I've always been such a person like that.
John Shear is serving a 10-year sentence for involuntary manslaughter and aggravated robbery. Part of an ongoing life as a criminal running in drug circles. He's at Lucasville for continuing that life behind bars, accused of being the mastermind behind a prison drug ring.
They put down the conveyance charge on me when I had no drugs on me or nothing. So the deal made it stick. I mean, I've been involved in some drugs, drug rings, and some fights and group fights and all that. And allegations been on me that people's got hurt for telling on me in the past. They just hurt.
At Lucasville, Shear is a porter, delivering juice and meals in K Block.
What's up with you, man? You good?
A plum job for a hustler. In a world this restricted, porters who choose to get in the game are at the heart of a covert network that moves contraband throughout the prison. Anything wheeled and transport trouble. Lunch wagons, metal tray boxes, even dumpsters.
Move through the inmates. We move we get around all that. Any porter job, really, even in the block. We charge people to run anything. It's all about money.
Shear seems to reap the benefits. In a world of limited possessions, he's a wealthy man. But in prison, wealth can be dangerous. The Lucasville prison that stands today is a serious place, imposing, dark, engulfed in shadow. The shadows are reminders of the prison's darkest days. April 1993, Easter Sunday. Inmates take control of L Block. 8 officers are held hostage.
We are oppressed people. We have come together as one. We are brothers. We are very oppressed and we're very sick of it. We're not going to take this anymore. We are not going to bow down. We are not going to give up. We are going to remain, no matter what they put on us, If we die, we die.
Within days, 9 inmates are killed by the rioters. 1 officer is murdered. His body deposited on the yard.
We hope there's no more violence. We hope there are no more unnecessary murders. But that is something that had to happen. A lot of us didn't want it, but I'm sorry. That's all I can say.
This is the first hostage that we can see that is coming out. These fellas coming out now appear to be the ones we have been waiting for.
That's a wonderful sight right
This
there.
is the second hostage coming out right now.
When the siege ends, L Block is in ruins. Lucasville is in ruins.
It truly shook us to the core. Everybody in the agency rethought what they were doing.
The riot is the formative moment in Ohio corrections, one that resonates daily from the office of Director Ernie Moore to the halls of the prison itself. And in its wake, Lucasville undergoes radical changes. Secure enclosures are built to protect officers on the tiers. Automated crash gates break up the corridors. Inmates move through the halls in groups of 20. And the department is called the ODRC, a system built around an organizing principle: rehabilitation.
We're not going to give up hope on public safety. That's our mission. That's what we're going to continue to do. And we're not going to give up hope on rehabilitation.
But at a prison like Lucasville, where every inmate has broken the rules of the system, that rehabilitation starts with control.
Top rates, please.
Today, level 4B inmates are getting rec. For 12 hours each day, single file lines head to and from the outdoor cages. A locked-down, chain-linked playground of sorts, where inmates are kept in segregated units. But even with the rigid control, fights are still common.
It can be violent. It can be very violent. We've got guys that can actually dislocate their thumbs and come up out of them handcuffs. We've got guys that you wouldn't think normally could break a set of handcuffs and can twist them and snap them in a heartbeat. What did I tell you from the get-go?
Already today, another fight has broken out.
We're gonna shut the block down.
When an inmate tried to headbutt another on the rec chain. The incident is quickly handled, and the inmate is removed.
We're around face wall.
Every day. You know, it's always something different, you know what I'm
Rec on the other side of the compound is a very different affair, where 4A inmates like John Shear have earned a bit more freedom. Shear gets an hour of rec a day, time he devotes to his real hustle, gambling. Shear runs a highly profitable sports book in K Block. He's the bank, the go-to man for betting on football games.
This is probably one of the biggest gambling places there is, just for the simple fact that we're locked down all day. You guys are really bored. So, I mean, in the weekend, you want to play a ticket, have you something to do. I mean, why not? Pay a couple bucks on the ticket.
Out on the yard, Shear is on the move, and football action is